I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
This is Matt once again. We're about to another video, and there's another paid request, this time for Lucas. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Sorry it's taking a bit to get to it, but there's a lot of episodes to get to. But you know what? It's been fun revisiting this show, and that show is the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon. And Lucas has been a very, very generous guy, so I highly appreciate it, and I welcome it. Thank you so much for it, man. Now, to get to season 4, because I've talked a lot about this show, I grew up with it, I saw it when it first came out and debuted, being a big fan, why I enjoy the show, why I enjoy the characters. Raphael is at least a badass in this. The Turtles do have their moments to shine. Yes, it's still a kid's show, but there's a lot of moments where there's certain seriousness, there's little bits of emotion in there. I think for the most part they do the characters justice fairly well. And yeah, I may have nitpicks here and there, but you say that for every TV show that you've ever seen in your life. But this is my favorite cartoon. It's one of my favorite incarnations of these characters. And this was made by someone online. So, really glad to have this. And let's get into season 4 of the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon. And yes, I had to write a few notes because just to remember everything, because my memory is, I'm getting older. Things are falling off. Getting gray hairs when I do have hair. My memory's going. So, real quick, click, snap, and pop. Real quick, overall with this season, I would say I think this is the last strong season. I like the first 4 seasons. The next one, Ninja Tribunal, is actually my least favorite. Apparently for a lot of people that's a season they love, but I could watch it for loving these characters, but it's just the story, it's my least favorite story. Yes, I actually prefer the fast forward episodes, and I can enjoy them for what they are, the fast forward episodes and the seasons. I can enjoy, well, mainly season. A lot of people don't, and no, it's not nowhere near as good as the first 4, but the fast forward, yeah, it got a bit less in animation quality, more silly, less emotional. And not to say that the first 4 seasons are soap opera or Batman animated series or anything of that sort, but for compared to other cartoons of the Ninja Turtles, it did more than they did. But yeah, the fast forward, a bit more kid friendly, and yeah, I didn't see, believe me, I didn't see the disconnect, but I can enjoy them because I like the characters, and there's stuff about those that I do enjoy. I like the future setting, and there are some episodes I do like. Certain aspects I do like. Like Mighty making a puppet of Raph and fucking with him by pretending to be him and just to piss Raph off. Like moments like that I enjoy. Back to the Sewer, I would say that's the second weakest, but I can watch and still not mind it for what it is. Like Back to the Sewer I don't mind. Fast Forward I like but don't love. Ninja Tribunal though I could not get into. I mean, like I said, I can watch it because I like the characters. And so, going back to this, I do think Season 4 is the last strong season. Not to say that there are weaker episodes, but some that are rather surprising. Like Insane in the Membrane is a really good one. I also like the mutant outbreak stuff. I don't mind because you have this bit where Donatello, he gets changed into more of a monster. I actually don't mind that little subplot. I think that was actually handled decently enough. One aspect that is interesting is what they do with the Leonardo character. Although I will say it gets to the point where it almost becomes the Leo show. And you could call the season 4 the Leo season. Now, on one hand, at least here it's understandable because they are following up season 3. At the end of season 3, and I mentioned when I reviewed that, at the end, there's this whole thing where they won, but they kind of won by luck. And at first when I was doing the review, it's kind of... But then I remembered they actually do play into it in this season, which I thought was a smart choice. They don't forget about it. They don't act like it doesn't exist. At least with the Leo character, they go with the fact that he was stabbed through. There's actually a chunk of shell missing. And throughout, especially the first half of the season, Leonardo is much more moody. He's much more brooding. He's much more angry. He's much more violent. There's even a moment in, I want to say, Dragon's Rising, where they do a nod to The Dark Knight Returns. I believe it was that. I know they do a nod to Batman, where they have Leo with a perp and has him hanging off the side of a building. Just the way he's positioned, it reminded me of Batman. I thought, oh, that's actually a nice nod to it. And like I said, overall, they do a fairly decent job. But again, I kind of wish if this is the Leo season, I wish when they continued, they did, okay, let's do a Mighty season. Let's do a Raph season. Let's do a Donnie season, where you take one of the turtles and you have this consistent theme of the character to the point they kind of become the star of the season. I actually think that would have worked out a lot better. As much as I don't mind Fast Forward, Back to the Sewer, I think that would have worked out better. But I wish the next season would be, yes, because he's my favorite, a Raphael season. And whatever story you go with him and have that consist through it. I think that would be that would have been a much better decision in retrospect. But I would say if you're a Leonardo fan, they do him pretty good of a... I think they do him with justice. A lot better than, say, the 2007 CGI, because he doesn't come off as a dick. He comes off as, you understand his point of view because of what happened last season, and he's pushing his brothers to train harder, but at least the show calls him out on it. The brothers call him out on it. Splinter calls him out on it. And then he makes a mistake, and then he goes to this guy named the Ancient One, the train. Although they kind of dropped the ball on that aspect, I'll get to it on that. So like I said, it's not a perfect season. I would say I like the first 3 seasons more than the season 4. Also the fact that you have like 25, 26 episodes, there's not one episode that centers on Raph. Yes, I say that he's my favorite character because during the season, like Mighty gets a great moment in an episode called Grudge Match, where he won the Battle Nexus championship by luck, but now he has to do a rematch. He's nervous. Leo helps him train. The guy's talking crap about his family, so Mighty gets pissed and, shows that Mighty can kick ass and wins legitimately this time. It's a good moment for him. Donatello, the fact this outbreak happens where creatures are being, insects and other stuff being turned to these bigger creatures. Donatello gets hit. And then, again, what I like about this show, there's some amount of consistency that when you watch in order, throughout the episodes, Donnie's coughing, it's just the flu. Another episode, he's sneezing, I'm down with something, and it's leading up to him turning to this monster, and there's 2-3 episodes, about 2 or so episodes, where they gotta find a cure for Donatello. Raph doesn't really get any of that. Now, the reason I'm not angry is because there's a lot of little moments that Raph gets, which is nice. There's a point where they're all trapped in the episode called I Monster. They're trapped in this kind of abandoned place, abandoned environment. There's like a smokestack type of area, and Raph is able to bust through the wall to help them escape. Like, there's a lot of nice little moments throughout for Raphael, as well as the other characters. And they do show him as a guy who saves his brothers or kicks ass. And so at least there's that. So I appreciate that. But again, like, Leo gets a lot of love in the season. Like, Donatello gets the whole thing with the turn to a monster. Mighty at least gets a rematch. I wish they would have given something for Raphael. And considering, again, you have like 25, 26 episodes to work with, I think you could have done at least one episode. And also, by the 4th season, there hasn't been a Raph and Mighty episode. Like, you've had a Raph and Donnie, an episode called Hate. You've had one with, like, Mighty and Splinter. Or, in this, you have one with Leo and Mighty, Still Nobody, where Leo and Mighty... No, that was the previous season. That was the previous season. What? I think that was the previous season that happened. But I swear there was another one where it was a Leo and Mighty episode. Maybe I remember it more. Yeah, I think that was last season. So, but that's what I mean, like, it'd be nice to have like a Raph and Mighty episode, or like give Raph a bit more something. I would say, for me, that's my biggest critique of the season. Like, I wish they had done the River story. Now, I know someone mentioned, well, technically they don't have the rights to it, but they have to have the rights to it because, Eastman and Laird created and wrote those books, including the River, and they could do something based on that since it's a Ninja Turtle comic, and they based it on the other comics in that. Like they do Sons of the Silent Age, which I think is one of the weaker episodes because I've read the comic, and the comic is much stronger. So, what is the River? The River is about, I forget if it was might have been 2 or 3 issues, where the turtles are enjoying their downtime. There's this leech, but it has a little bit of something to it, and it hooks on the Raph. But then as it sucked more and more blood, Raph turns to a normal turtle, and then the leech gets bigger to a man-sized. And it gets to a point where Raph, as a normal turtle, bites the thing and takes it back. And then there's a nice shot where the turtles see a shadow under this waterfall, and then after biting the fuck out of this, he emerges and he's back to his normal self. Now maybe that would be considered too violent, or I don't know what the deal is, but at least something. So, but like I said, with the Leonardo character, I like that they throughout the season they do give a bit of, he feels like a failure. He feels like, you know, not only, he puts more of the blame on himself, and that's why he's always throughout many episodes, train more, train more. That's more than a lot of shows, especially Ninja Turtles, have done. And that's why I appreciated this, and that's, I think, the direction they should have taken. But from what I understand, the original premise was that Ninja Tribunal was going to be the final season, and that's it. That's it. But then I guess either network or someone said, well, you know, we actually want to do more, and we don't think this, you know, that's why this is considered the lost season. How about you wait and just put that on DVD? We want to do this thing called Fast Forward, and then they went with that. Which actually, I'm fine because I like Fast Forward more than Ninja Tribunal. That's just me. But I get back to this season. I'm like 15 minutes in. Starts with an episode, Cousin Sid. I actually rather liked this one. The Turtles have been battered from last season, so I like that consistency, continuity. Pretty much they're at the farmhouse trying to rest from being battered up. But with luck and a little bit of other stuff, defeating the Shredder last season. So they're healing up. Casey Jones's cousin comes by. He brings trouble. And pretty much the Turtles, even though they're hurt, they have to try to fight these guys. Which I thought actually worked well because, you know, well, these Turtles would kick these guys' ass just like that. But because they're battered, it makes them more vulnerable, so it gives at least a better reason as to why it's giving them a little bit of trouble to fight these guys. I like the moment where Mikey goes, oh man, it smells like burnt, and looks at his sensei, because his sensei was burnt, fried. So it's the fried hair and stuff. Like, oh, sorry, Sensei. I thought that was a funny Mighty moment. I was thinking, like, Mighty has moments like that, but he doesn't seem like in the 2012 cartoon. Although I don't mind the voice acting and the look of Mighty in the 2012 cartoon, but just sometimes the way they write that character. And don't get me started on that new one that got canceled. After, what, 2 years? I wonder why. Again, I like this Casey Jones. He's a lot of fun. Like, there's a moment where it's like, hey, this is where I punched the wall when I was, you know, no, it's like, hey, this is where they plastered the wall. See, I punched it when I was 7. And then April stops him. Raph doesn't do much in the episode, but I do like, at least, you know, Raph says something that makes Leo mad, and then Mighty, his normal self, says, hey, you need a hiding place, don't you, Raffy boy? And they pick him up, and Raph's like, don't you do it, don't you guys do it. You know, you're not fighting without me. And then they put him in like a closet. I swear, once I get better, and he moves, and he hears a crack. Like one of those moments. So it makes the character still strong, but the fact that he's got the busted ribs and stuff, you put him out of commission, but you still make him strong. You don't make him actually weak. Like, I'm afraid, or, you know, they force him into that. And then he gets, you know, his come up as a Mighty at the end, where Mighty thinks everything's fine, and Raph trips his ass and goes, well, I didn't miss all the action, didn't I, Mighty? Like I said, I like what they do with the Mighty and Raph. Kind of like, you know, the butting against each other, but in a friendly way. And like I said, I like the way the Turtles fight these guys, but still keep into the fact that they're injured. You know, overall, that's actually, I thought, a strong way to open up the season. Then you have the People's Choice, which, but it is based on a comic book. I do like that they're going more into Leo being moody and being more silent, and you get this vibe with him, which goes through the whole season, or most of it. The ship crashes. Mikey tries to talk to it, going, "Klaatu brada Nitos." Thought that was a nice reference. Pretty much, this alien crash landed. It looks like a girl, and in her race, the electoral process is done via combat. So then these other things try to fight her unfairly. So the turtles help. And there's like a water monster, there's a rock monster, there's a worm, snake monster. The turtles get their chance to fight. Again, it was alright. I don't know why they changed the look. I think in the comic it did look like more of a human female, but they made a bit more of an alien female. Although granted, in the comic I think it looked more like a sexy human. Kind of like what Kevin Eastman would do in when he did some of the heavy metal comics. So maybe that's why they changed it a bit. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about this episode. It was alright. You know, the bad guys they fight, there's not a whole lot they can do, because, like, what can you do to a water monster and a rock monster? That kind of hinders the characters in battle. But, you know, they still get their moments to do stuff. I wouldn't say I really cared about the alien, I think, Jana. But again, they do a decent job adapting from the comic. Like, there's a moment where Donnie tries to be nice to her, and she remembers that and cuts like a piece of her hair and gives it to Donnie as a memento. I believe that is taken from the comic, so that was a nice nod to that. And, you know, step down from the first episode, but, you know, not a bad one. The third one, Sons of the Silent Age, I say it's one of the weaker ones. Is that because the episode is bad? I would say this, if you never read the comic, it's fine. Because the turtles are going downriver, they go by a nuclear power plant, there's these fish people, they see that one of their own, which is a female, is dying, connects with April, April sees that, oh wait, you know, she was here because she has her infants. If we don't do this and make like a dam, something's going to happen. This nuclear waste is going to get to where this section of the water, and it's going to wipe out this race. And so, again, Raph gets a good moment where they're dragging the turtles in the water, and Raph kicks some of their ass in the water. That was a nice moment. They decide to go in and fuck up the nuclear power plant to create a dam. There's some nice lighting, animation during some parts of this episode. It's just, the more I think about it, I get why they had to change it because, okay, in the comic, it's still them going down river, but you didn't have, it was more about the fact that at the end, it didn't have anything to do with the, you know, saving eggs, like saving this race. It's more like they're battling this creature, or a series of creatures. They're wondering what's up, and then you realize that it's because they thought they were going to hurt this female who is dying, and then she dies, and then there's no future for these creatures. And then April's pondering like how sad that is. And then she looks over at Raphael, and then Raphael looks at her, kind of like, and then she puts two and two together. It's like, oh shit, like, the way they are now is the way the turtles are. And sort of that, you're thinking, well, yeah, that's a realization of, yeah, these guys will never have a future. Like, they'll never have more of them. It's just the four of them, and when the four of them are gone, they're gone. as that realization. And that's why like Raphael's giving her sort of this look. Not the, I want to fuck you look, but more like, yeah, I know what they're going through. Because we're in the same boat. But I get why that'd be probably a bit too deep for a kids' cartoon show. And also, then the kids would be like, what's the deal? Well, see, they can't fuck. And... But again, that's why it was an interesting comic. But again, the more I think about it, well, that'd be kind of hard to replicate that for an episode of a cartoon. So I can understand why. So, it's not fair to call one of the weaker ones in retrospect, because, like, how would you do that for a comic? I mean, for a cartoon, without it being weird? But yeah, I like the comic because it's like a nice emotional depth to the sad fate. I guess unless you're a fan fiction writer and you can change that. Because there are some female fan fiction writers that well, have other ideas, I'll put it that way. But, I mean, it's not a bad episode. Like I said, they do save the eggs, so they do accomplish something. There's some nice lighting to it. Yeah, not a bad one. Dragon's Brew, which is what I'm talking about, like, they have certain pairings, like, this is really like Leo and Casey, which is interesting, because someone shows up very moody, like Batman, and Casey thinks it's Raph, and then he's surprised that it's Leo, and then Leo, again, is pretty much acting like Batman. He wants to see him go out and fight crime, and he's like, this guy Hun, who worked with the Shredder, like a big buff guy, he's hijacking weapons from a train. They go to this warehouse. The stuff Hun stole was from Agent Bishop, who we saw in the previous season. Fight breaks out. You find out that this monster is part of the stuff that Hun and his men stole. This is a creature that has memories. I thought this brought some nice emotional pathos, that he's having memories, no dialogue, but memories that he was married, and his marriage, the day he got married, and this woman that he loved. So it brings a sense of, you know, nice little emotional moments to it. And the other characters never find out. It's just the creature thinking of this. While Leo and Casey, and then Agent Bishop and his men come via chopper to blow it up. I mean, I would say that's the more intriguing part of the episode. Is more showcasing more of Leo being this moody, like, almost Batman type. And the other being, again, this Bishop and his men think they destroy the creature, but we see that it's still alive, and it's looking at where he got married, and the sad look on his face, and a little bit of the feels, which was nice. But other than that, I mean, and it's interesting to see Leo and Casey working together. That's very different and unique. Which is just my point. We had a Leo and Casey episode, but by this point we still don't have a Raph and Mikey episode, which I think would be very easy to think of and write. That's one thing I would like to ask the writers and the creators of the show. Why was that never the case? And also, how come Raph hadn't really... All the other characters seemed like they had something to do with the season other than Raph. Like, why not? I'll admit there's a part... The selfish part of me wish it was Raphael going through what Leo did. But that's from a fanboy point of view. So I admit that. But again, it does, you know, do Leo justice. Next up is, I would say, one of the better episodes, I Monster. It's a nice environment because the Turtles and Casey, they find this big abandoned place buildings and such, and they decide to play Capture the Flag, where they put like a bandana, you gotta catch it and grab it from the person. So Mighty has the bandana, he's running off. But there's something else there, and you find out in the previous season there was this clone of Agent Bishop, and I said in that review, it looked like Weapon X. Like the Wolverine Weapon X with the headset, and it looked almost just like him. Well, that thing survived, and technically, this is the Rat Team. That's kind of what he becomes at the end, the Rat Team. They don't say it, but you get the idea because the way he puts bandages on himself, and then like the way the rats are enjoying his company. And I don't think you ever see this thing again. This is Ninja Tribunal, they're all in a like different dimension or wherever. Fast forward, they're in the future. So yeah, I don't think you ever see this again, so that's kind of something they kind of left up in the air by the end. But, or maybe just sits there with the rats and, I don't know, plays what the fuck rat games play, I don't know. But though, yeah, that's kind of an interesting way of doing the Rat Team. Like a different way of doing it, different way of doing that story. Mighty gets caught, they all get trapped. That's the moment where, you know, Raph bursts out of the wall. It's a nice moment for him. And then Mighty's like, man, I always said you were as thick as a brick. And then Raph, I love the moment like when Mighty says that, Raph's like, and he doesn't even have words like, you know, to Mighty. Leo fights the, I'm gonna call him the Rat Team, and I like that Raph has a moment like, hey, stay back, this guy, you know, Leo, he's not just fighting this guy, he's got some more to fight. Like Raph knows Leo's got to let off some steam, but they're not useless either. Like the Rat Team's ready to take Leo down to this rat pit, and they save him, pull him up, and pretty much leave him behind. And like I said, it was kind of an interesting way of doing the Rat Team, made it a little bit different. And, you know, being a Raphael fan, you had a nice moment or two. And yeah, I just liked the environment they were at, and, you know, the animation was nice. You know, I liked it. I thought this was actually one of the better episodes. And the next episode I didn't mind, Grudge Match. Where, again, you're further showcasing Leo, wanting more and more training. Even Raph's been having enough of this. And then Mikey talks about, why do I need training? I'm the Battle Nexus champion. And even Donatello, not just Raph, but even Donnie's like getting pissed at Mikey. Because like Raph's like, don't you say it. And then Mikey says it, and then Raph's like, and then he walks away. And then even Donnie's pissed, like, yeah, we're kind of tired of you rubbing in our faces. You always do it all the time. And then when Mikey realizes he's got to do a rematch, even Donnie's like, man, it stinks to be you. They probably, maybe in the cartoon they can't say sucks. But it's like, man, it sucks to be you. That's pretty much what Donnie says. So I like that they had that bit of dialogue for Donatello. So he's, you know, he makes him a bit more three-dimensional, not just a nerd. Like even he's getting fed up with what Mikey's doing. And Mikey, he tries to talk himself out of it. Hey, maybe I could forfeit. But that's what I mean. Like this Mikey, I enjoy because he acts goofy. He did not like a kid, but I don't really consider him stupid. I really don't. And in the 2012 cartoon, a lot of times they made him really, like he really is 10 years old. And then again, don't get me started on the whatever. But yeah, Leo helps him, and then, and see, that's the thing, like, this is where I'm getting to the point, like, man, this is really feeling like the Leo show. Which, yes, it makes sense because Leo is the leader. But it's like, okay, I would rather prefer if Raph helped him out. Like, Leo is busy being moody. And that could be the Raph and Mikey episode that I was looking for. Like, this could be the thing. Like, the one guy who be the last to train Mikey. And you can even have Raph, like, Donnie's like, you figure out yourself. Leo is being his moody self. And then Raph is like, well, you don't need me. You beat me, remember? So, like, you could play into that. And then Mikey says something, and then Raph ultimately, you know, is a softie, and then ends up teaching him some tricks, which then Mikey uses at the end. See, that's what I would like. That's what I would have changed. Because Leo has all this other stuff he's going to go through, so let Raph get that moment. But, I mean, that's just me retroactively saying it. But, you know, during the rematch, the bad guy has some stuff going on, so the fight's getting more intense than it should. But then Mikey's able to get a good moment, beat the guy's ass, shows his agility, shows that the nunchucks are worthwhile, not unlike fucking that stupid death battle for the Ninja Turtles that I ranted on, pretty much saying nunchucks are pointless. Obviously, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't know anything about martial arts, apparently. That death battle shit. But yeah, grudge match, yeah, overall I did enjoy. It was a nice showcase for Mikey. Next one, I would say this is one of the weaker ones. A Wing at a Prayer. Honestly, this felt like just a redo of The People's Choice, which was earlier this season. Once again, it's someone in a fight with another, and the Turtles kind of thrust into this civil war between these two. And The People's Choice, it was this girl named Jana as part of this electoral process, a combat. Here, it's this guy named Raptar, who is an avian, pretty much looks like an angel, a human with angel wings. And they took this thing, and he needs to get it back. So Donnie creates these flying machines, so they all can fly to where they need to go. And then there's a little bit of fighting, but not much. They do like a crystal keep away that this bad guy needs. Again, it just felt a bit redundant compared to the, like, we just had the People's Choice. This is almost like the same thing, other than having the flying element in there. So, and when I say weaker, it's not like I hated it. Because at the end of the day, they're only 20-some minute episodes. And I love these versions of the characters so much, I can enjoy them just for that. But just, it is one of the weaker, because, like, it's a redundant story. But after that, you did one of the best stories, Bad Day. And this is an episode that showcases how serious the show can be if given the opportunity. Because during this, the Turtles and Splinter are meditating, and then Splinter collapses. And it's like, okay, whoa, it's something serious. And then, like the title suggests, bad after bad thing keeps happening to them. The layer floods. Mikey's little kitten, Clunt, gets fucking carried away and drowned. They get up top, and there's this whole army. And then they're found on TV. And, like, all this horrible shit. Like, they're in a van. They get out. But they get blown up, so it seems like the Casey and April are dead. And, like, what the hell is going on? And then you find out there's more than meets the eye, and things are not what they seem. And these are characters that will play into a bit of the, like, the Ninja Tribunal stuff. Mystics and magic. And, you know, plays into that stuff. It was an interesting idea, and it shows how far they can go in seriousness, but still be a kid's show. So I thought it's nice that the show is willing to try to go that route when it can, whether it be Same as It Never Was, or this episode here, or other stuff. I thought it was nice to see. It made them not so kiddified. Next up is a episode called Aliens Among Us. Pretty much Agent Bishop, his programs are going to be shut down, so he fakes an alien invasion to kidnap the president, all so that he can make the president scared. Be like, oh, I need your protection. Here's my funding. Give it to you. And it works at the end of the day. And it's pretty much what happens during it. So, like, they find these aliens, but they blow up like water balloons. I do like you did a Ghostbusters reference. Someone goes, he slimed me. So, that was nice. And this one, I mean, like, at the very least, Raph does get his little moments. Like, there's a point where Bishop is going to shoot Don, but then Raph grabs him and saves Donatello and gets on his back and tries to pretty much choke him out. Like I said, Raph at least gets his moments to shine. That's nice. At least, you know, he gets a lot of these little moments. And maybe it's like someone new, like we don't have it, like, so give Raph all these little moments. So that I do appreciate. Unlike the 2012 cartoon, which can kiss my ass. So Bishop saves the president, but it was all a ploy. And like I said, Agent Bishop is an interesting villain. I like the way the voice actor, the way he looks, which is definitely a take on Agent Smith from the Matrix films. Guaranteed. And one of the new villains that was made specifically for this show, that wasn't on a previous movie or comic book of the Ninja Turtles. And I thought that was a nice addition. Introduced in the previous seasons. Also, these creatures, when they blow up this sludge and blood, not really blood, but what the remains get into the sewer system, and that's going to lead into later into this mutant outbreak. So again, it's nice that we set it up here and that's going to play out later. So for the most part, they do that fairly well with this show. Dragons Rising, not too bad of an episode. I like at the beginning that Splinter is playing cards with Raph and Casey. And that's one of the reasons I like this Splinter. This Splinter seems... it has that right balance of being a teacher and a master, but he's also a loving father who does care for his family. And it's not so strict that he's an asshole. Like, to me, the Splinter in the 2012 cartoons seemed like an asshole many times. I can't help it. Either the way he behaved, or the way he treated some of them, or the way he talked. I just thought he was a big asshole. And then the Rise, that shit, Splinter looks like fucking Porky Pig with rat fur, and it's just a complete fucking joke in that. So the total opposite. Here I thought there was a nice balance. He's a master, he's a sensei, but again, he still has his moments, like he's playing cards with Raph and Casey. He even has one of those, I don't know what the hell you call it, that sometimes you see in gambling places where they have like this visor thing, and, you know, beats them at cards. I thought the story was a bit redundant, because once again, Hun is stealing weapons. It's like, didn't we just have that with Dragon's Brew, where Han stole stuff, but it was from Agent Bishop, and here it's stealing stuff once again, only it's going to be First on these choppers, and then in these trucks. This is the episode I said Leo does a bit of a Dark Knight, where he's interrogating someone like who's ready to fall off a building. And it's a nice nod to Batman. Yeah, it's also a nice showing for Casey, where Casey's fighting Hun on top of the truck, and Casey has a little bit of backstory against Hun. It's a nice showcase for him. Also the way it ends with Leo just blowing a fuse. Like, we didn't get all of them. Well, we got some of them, Leo. No, we're tired of us failing. I'm tired of us fucking up. He just blows a fuse, and they just leave Leo's ass there. So in other words, they do the normal reaction. Again, I think just with Han stealing weapons again just seemed a bit redundant from, like I said, the Dragon's Brew episode. And I thought it was also weird, like, it was Raph and Casey on this truck, and they both jump to the vehicle. It was weird that Leo yells for Casey. Like, he doesn't yell for his own brother. He yells for Casey, and I thought that was a bit weird. Thought that was going to lead to something. Like, why didn't you yell for Raph? But it didn't. I think it was just the way it was animated. Like, Raph's over here, then Casey's over here closer to the camera. And then, like, on this side, Mikey's going to grab Raph. And on this side, Leo's going to grab Casey. So I think that's really the only reason. Just the way the animation was. But you could have had, like, then Mikey say, Raph, or something. But, yeah, that's just a little nitpick. Overall, didn't mind it. Then you have an episode called Still Nobody. Not the Nobody that came out this year. This is a different Nobody. This was a sequel to an episode from, I think, the previous season. Speaking of a character that reminds you of Batman. That character comes back, who was a former cop, but then saw some crooked stuff going on. Once again, Leo's adamant on training, which makes sense since he blew a fuse in the previous episode. And, like, Don smacks Mikey, and then Raph's like, don't smack him. That's my job. And then Raph smacks him. I like that moment. That was funny. Nobody wants their help. Well, the character Nobody wants their help. You have this kind of humorous bit where Mikey and Don go undercover as these old people that these gang members want to beat up. So Mikey keeps calling Don Gramps or husband. And at the end, Don's like, yeah, can you tell Mikey stop calling me husband? Nice moment with Raph. He gets to kick some ass, including kicking these thuds' ass by a pool table. Does a nice sweep on a guy, making his ass fall down on the pool table. And on a motorcycle, he goes on the catwalk, making some people fall off of it. And overall, not bad. It's just I don't really care about the Nobody character. I didn't think he was that strong of a character to get a sequel. Again, you could have a Raph and Mikey episode or a Raph episode by himself instead of just a sequel to the... Again, I don't think that character was strong enough to get a sequel. But yeah, I like the Mikey and Don as Grandma, Grandpa, Gramps. And again, Raph gets his moments. So it's okay. All Hollows Thieves, that's their Halloween episode, where a guy steals the statue from April's pawn shop, and it creates these gargoyles. Again, interesting that it was a Halloween episode. I like the bit where each turtle is doing their jack-o'-lantern in their specific way. Like Donnie's using like a laser, and then Raph just punching it with his size. I do like the action bit at the end where the final bad guy is this statue with a bunch of arms, and the turtles get their moments to shine. Like Raph takes one of its arms and smashes his fucking head in. This is a statue, so like the harm right through the head and it just stuck in the chest. And no, it's not gory because it's all made of rock, but I like that image. And they knocked it against like a subway train. I do like the ending of that, so that makes a decent episode. I also like the little moment where, like, the other turtles are really, except Leo and his, I don't know, his period phase. It's on his period again, Leo. It's that time of the month for him. But like Raph and Mikey go off and get like caramel apples, caramel. How you pronounce it? Some people say caramel, some people say caramel apples. And they're just eating them. I don't know, just little details like that I enjoy. Next up is Samurai Tourist. Interesting because you have the return of Usagi, the Osadi Yojimbo, the samurai who is the rabbit. Which again, I always wonder why no one ever did like a movie or a cartoon of that character. I think there was talks at one point, then it just died out. I don't know why. I like that the other guys are finally talking about like Leo's mood and what's going on. But Usagi and his buddy Gen stop by to visit. Again, some of the humor in this show is actually rather funny. Like Casey comes by and Den calls him something, and Casey's like, "What do you call me?" And I think it was like Donnie's like, "Call you a monkey." Yeah, whatever, and then he walks off. I even like the little montage that they're showing these guys, like all the sights of New York. Like they show them a baseball game and all this stuff. Just made it a bit more relatable as characters. And then Usagi tries to talk with Leo. Again, this whole thing with Leo, they really do punctuate that throughout the whole show. I mean, the whole season, I should say. That's right, I wish they did this with the other characters and like do one for Mikey, do one for Raph. I think that would have been really cool. And in the long run, more appreciative. And then Den, like Usagi's like, "Oh, we gotta leave," but then Den wants to stay and he just walks on by. He gets his outfit, which is a nod to Rocksteady because Den is a rhino type of character, and when he dresses his stuff up, it looks like Rocksteady from the old cartoon. And then pretty much like Leo and Usagi fight this assassin on the rooftop. I wish the other turtles had a bit more to do during that. So that's one nitpick. Like have the other turtles have a bit more to do during that whole thing. Again, other than that, it was nice to see Usagi. Again, I do like that character. I like the interpretation of that character in this show. I think they do a fairly good job with him on that front. It's too bad we didn't see a whole lot more of him. That would have been nice. But you know how certain shows, they have a certain character join the cast? I think that would have been cool if Usagi, like, stay with them for a while. Like, a season. I think that would actually be pretty cool. Actually, I think it'd be pretty funny that Usagi is a lot like Leo, but then, like, maybe he befriends Raph. And, I don't know, just be like an interesting dynamic to it. Next up you did, I think, one of the weakest episodes. I did not care for this. The Ancient One. Which is weird because it's supposed to be one of the important ones. I don't mind the way it begins. Leo's getting more angry. He accidentally injures Splinter. And finally Splinter's like, "You gotta go to Japan. And there's this guy that trained my master called the Ancient One. You gotta talk with him." And Leo does. But then you find the Ancient One, who's this little round fat fuck. And he farts. Nice one, eh? What, you Canadian, eh? What, you part strange brew? Rip Moranis? I mean, eats the chocolate that Leo gives him. Teeth farting. pretty much just ends with Leo fights this thing, and kind of like Luke Skywalker, Empire Strikes Back, something gets revealed and it's Leo, like him fighting himself. If there's nothing more you could have done, why are you punishing yourself? And then pretty much Leo snaps out of it like that. I go, really? And then with this fucking old asshole who farts a lot, farting. That I thought was a big miss. And you know what? I would say that to me is the worst episode of the season. I really would. I really would say that's the worst episode of the season. Scion of the Shredder. Because this is kind of part of it. Scion of the Shredder, Prodigal Son. And they really make it the Leo show here. Because Scion of the Shredder, it's been months. Leo's training. The others are in the lair. They get attacked by the foot. They've been found out. At least the characters at least do get out on their own. And it shows that they are independent. So like, they take different routes. Donnie takes Splinter and they go underwater. Mikey takes a vehicle and goes to the sewer. Raph takes his bicycle and goes first to an elevator where there's a bunch of foot members in there. I don't know why they don't show us the fight scene in there. It's pretty much Raph gets in, then there's like 3 or 4 foot members, and then the next time we see it, Raph comes out of the elevator and he's just tired. I'm like, why didn't we see some of that fight? I don't understand why we didn't see that fight. I think that would have been a great moment. I don't understand that. I thought that was a big missed opportunity. But pretty much they each take their, different routes. We're supposed to be led to believe they're dead, but they're not, of course. They escaped. Because in the next one, Leo comes back. I guess now Leo's like part psychic, at least for this one episode. Because he'll do 1 or 2 things, and then it's like the fucking dead zone turns on. And he's able to visualize what exactly happened. How each of his brothers escaped. And he finds each of his brothers. They find a new home. Leo goes to Cry, who's the new Shredder, fights her, defeats her, pretty much warns her to knock the shit off. So I'm like, okay, now it really is the Leo show. And I was like, okay, can you back up a bit, guys? Like, come on now. The idea, Leo's the leader, but it's like, come on, you're pushing it a bit. But, I mean, but that's my point, though. If this is meant to be the Leo season, that makes sense to give it a cherry on top for it. That makes sense. That this led to something. Him easily defeating Karai. It's just, I didn't do that for the other characters. Then next up is Outbreak, which I didn't mind. Actually, this is one of the better episodes in my opinion. That's goo that the aliens were being blown up into, and the aliens among us. It's called this Outbreak, where these creatures are now mutated, and it also shows that there's some graphic stuff, like Agent Bishop, he clones his bodies, so you literally see him melt. The skin melts, and then there's a skeleton, and that crumbles, and then you cut to the other clone body, and Bishop wakes up. I'm like, wow, that's actually kind of graphic for a cartoon. That was rather surprising. And pretty much it's the turtles fighting these monsters, these pretty much giant bugs. And Raph hates bugs, but you know what? He actually fights them, and he kicks quite a bit of ass. Unlike the 2012 cartoon, where Raphael was afraid of bugs and ran away. Even though his family needed him, he fucking ran away like a bitch. And hide. Yeah, by the end, he finally does something, granted, to save Mikey. So I get that, but it's just with how the rest of the show entailed It was just another annoyance. I think if the rest of the show treated the character better, I wouldn't be as annoyed with that, but in retrospect, but anyway, that's another thing. But here, Raph saves Mighty. He hits one, his foot gets stuck, and he does like a bat flip on one, like a kid flip. Like some really good moments of the turtles kicking these giant bugs' asses. It's just a nice, straightforward action episode. Easily entertaining one. So, I actually like that one quite a bit. Trouble with Augie. This is a Don and April. Like I said, they do this here where there's some interesting pair-ups. Again, why not a Raph and Mighty? Just saying. And this is a sequel to an episode in, I forget if it was season 2 or 3, where April thought of her uncle and they went to this place. I think it was called April's Artifact. And there's like these big wasps that would hit you and get you paralyzed for a bit. This is a sequel to that where April gets the signal, Don helps, the both of them use his artifact to go there, and they find the uncle. And these nice lizards that's with the uncle are turncoat assholes. They set this signal to find the coordinates to do an invasion, but they fucked it up. Donnie, April, and the uncle fucked it up, destroy the transport, lure the bad guys to those wasps from April's artifact. They get back to safety. So at least it is a nice sequel to April's Artifact if you like that episode, because at least something good came out of it where they rescue the uncle and he's brought to safety. I guess it's just, I hate to say it, an episode with April and Donatello is just not the most exciting or interesting episode, and it felt like not much happened. Like during the battle scenes, I don't even remember much about the battle scenes. It felt like it was more build up and then battle, boom, we're done, we're back. So I would say that's one of the weaker ones. Like I would say the weakest episode, okay, I know I'm not done yet, but I would say the best episodes for me would be, in no particular order, Cousin Sid, I Monster, Grudge Match, Bad Day, Outbreak, Insane the Membrane, which I'll get to, Good Genes I didn't mind. Well, quite a few others I don't mind, but I mean favorites. I would say the weakest ones would be Ancient One. I think is the worst. For how important that, just the farting, all that. Ancient One I think is the worst. Followed by A Wing and a Prayer is pretty nothing of an episode. And I'd probably go with this one. Also, The Tale of Master Yoshi, which I don't care about Master Yoshi in this, so I would say that's one of the weaker ones. But until we get there, After Trouble with Augie is an episode that was not released when it came out because it was deemed too graphic. It was released years later, after the fact. It's called Insane the Membrane, and it's because, and it's actually a rather good episode with Baxter Stockman. This is montage where, with his point of view, we see how he got pretty much cut to pieces. Pretty much like a blade coming at him, and each time they saw him, it was like with an eye patch or in a wheelchair, and just point of view of just either the Shredder slashing him or Hun doing something to him. I thought that was a nice way of seeing it through Stockman's point of view. And so, he is now working with Agent Bishop. I'm going to do this as long as I get a new body. Well, I want a new body now, and Bishop's like, well, we're not, all the kinks are not fixed yet. But they do it anyway, and seems like it works. Stodman's like, oh, I finally got a body. Because he didn't have one then. He was just fucking brain in a jar. I got a new body. I can feel. I can eat. And he has like memories of his mom when he was a kid. But this new body's being rejected. And there's like a moment where his finger literally falls off. Like... And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. But then again, because Fox was a 4Kids TV, whoever, oh, that's too much. So then they didn't show it when it came. They didn't show it at this time. They had to wait years later until like either like a reruns or some other platform. I think it was on a DVD. And then not only is his body going, but his mind is going. So he's obsessed that it's April's fault he's in this predicament in the first place, because April was his assistant, and she met the turtles, so, oh, it must be her fault. And then there are times where he sees April, and he sees her as his mom. Like, he's looking at her, but he's visualizing his mom. And he's, like, going crazy. There's a point where his jaw is falling off. And, you know, the turtles and Casey save her. But, I mean, yeah, I thought that was a really interesting episode. Surprisingly graphic. And, ballsy. You know, I appreciate that they tried to do stuff like that. And sadly, that's probably why they could not do more, because I don't know if it was 4Kids TV, I don't know if there's someone above them, or the network. They could suck their fucking cock. Like, if they were given free reign, imagine what they could have done if that's the case. I did like the next episode quite a bit as well. Return of Zavante. Pretty much you have the Renee with the time scepter comes back. Meanwhile, the turtles are at a museum and Donatello really loves dinosaurs. Look at it. I like that Raph and Mighty keep giving him crap for liking this stuff. That just seemed like a brotherly thing to do. So then they go back to the Dino Age. Again, being a Raphael fan, Raph gets a lot of good moments. He saves Mighty twice from these dinosaurs. Him and Mighty are surfing these dinosaurs. I mean, Raph hits a fucking dinosaur in the face and knocks it out. That's pretty fucking badass. Literally, he dodges a dinosaur, hits him in the face, and knocks him the fuck out. Again, this Raphael is a badass. I like that. You know, the final battle with Zavante, I don't know. I think that could have been a lot better. Pretty much the other turtles are distractions while Don and Renee get the scepter. And I would have preferred just the four working together and physically kicking his ass. That's just more my style. The scepter is missing, and then they can't find it. It's missing for like 3 months, and then they finally find it by chance. Which is a bit weird, because soon after, we have Adventures in Turtle sitting in Good Genes, and that's when Donatello turns. I'm like, wait a minute, so it took this long from when he first got hit way back in the episode Outbreak, and now they say it's been 3 months since they were trapped here. How long does it fucking take for this bite to turn him into this monster? I just thought that was a bit weird that it took that long to do it. But whatever. Before I get to that, but I do like the episode for the most part. Tailmaster Yoshi, I didn't care. Pretty much there's no electricity. Mighty's like, what do we do? And so Leo tells a tale that the Ancient One told him. That's about their sensei's master, which is Master Yoshi. It's just Japan in the 1960s, and Shin is brought up, who Master Yoshi was in love with, and Master Yoshi was being trained by the Ancient One, and there's this other friend of Master Yoshi. In other words, it kind of does... In the actual origin, Master Yoshi was in love with Shin, and Shredder was in love with Shin. They fought over her. Shin chose her. Shin chose him, so Shredder killed both of them. Because they decided to do Shredder differently in this, it's not going to be the same backstory, so now it's this other guy. And you still have the death of Shin. I would say the only thing I really like is that they do a Game of Death reference, Bruce Lee. So when Master Yoshi comes in to fight, he's wearing the yellow, like the Bruce Lee Game of Death. I guess if you really care about the Master Yoshi stuff, this would interest you. I guess for me, I just don't. At least not for a full episode. So that's just me, though. Adventures in Turtle City and Good Genes, those are back-to-back. It's pretty much Donatello, the mutation turns into a monster, and Adventure Turtle City, pretty much it's Don's chasing after April and Casey while the turtles are out trying to get more of these creatures captured. And then they found out Don is a creature, and they capture him with the help of Leatherhead, who comes back. And then in the Good Genes, they make a deal with Bishop, and Bishop says, you need to go into the foot, and you need to get this one device, and then I'll cure Don. I do like the turtles when they're in the foot lair, and the foot headquarters. Some of the stuff that happens in there, I don't mind that. Like Raphael sets up these bombs and like grabs one of these mech things, blows up some shit. And like it's a nice moment with Don where they're like showing how sad they are about what happened to Donatello. Shows that the family does care for each other, and they're able to cure Don, and their happiness about that. Like, I didn't mind that at all. Now, technically, this ends with an episode called Ninja Tribunal. But to be fair, I did not watch that because, to me, that's more about Ninja Tribunal stuff. And I think if I ever do Ninja Tribunal, it fits better talking about that with the Ninja Tribunal season, since that is just a setup for that season. That's really what it is. It's a setup for that season. So, to me, the Adventures of Turtle City and Good Genes seem like the more of an ending to season 4. They cured Don. Boom. There they go. So overall, I do quite enjoy the season. I don't know, in retrospect, I think I did say I thought the first 3 seasons were better. I'm trying to think, this might have more of a better batting average than season 3, the more I think about it. Either way, I still think it's a fairly solid season, especially if you're a Leonardo fan. If you are a Leonardo fan, this is a must-watch this season. I do wish there was a Raphael episode or a Raph and Mikey episode. Again, I do think there are some weak episodes like a Wing and a Prayer, and Ancient One I think is the worst with the farting Ancient One. Like, why? That wasn't needed. I do wish there was a bit more emphasis on the other turtles and a little bit less on Leo. But, Tale of Master Yoshi, I think that was a waste of an episode. I think, again, that could have been a Raph or a Raph and Mikey episode or something. But, you get some nice ballsy ones, like Bad Day and Insane in the Membrane. Those two are definitely worth a watch. You get some fun action ones like Outbreak, I Monster. What was the one I mentioned? Even like, you know, Good Genes, Adventuring Turtles in Good Genes. Not too bad. Definitely like it more than Ninja Tribunal, which would be the next one. So overall, very solid season. I know it's like over an hour long, but wanted to be a bit thorough. So with that said, I love this show. I'm a fan of this show. I've always been a fan of this show. I think this is the most underrated media with the Ninja Turtles. And I think they deserve a lot more respect. And even I've said it's not a perfect show. Like the score, not a fan of the music. I think the score could have been a lot better. I think the score at times limits the show. Again, it needed a better composer, better music, better theme. Because I hate the theme. It's a horrible theme song. Need a much better one. And like I have nitpicks here and there, but overall I still really love the show. Have a lot of passion for it. And it deserves a lot more love. A lot more love than it's gotten. I think that the voice actors do a good job portraying these characters. And for the most part, the show itself does a great job portraying these characters in a respectable and respectful manner. And sadly, that's not the case nowadays with Nickelodeon, Nickel and Diamond doing their bullshit. Yeah, how'd that work out for you? You did a new show, 2 seasons, done. Just sucked. It's my opinion. And this kissed the shit out of that. This, even with the lost season, you got 7 seasons and a movie, Turtles Forever. So there you fucking go. Who wins on that route? So, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.